I'm Pastor Andrew, and this is Theology Thursday. Why church? Well, more often than not, when I invite someone to come to church, one of the most common responses I receive is, I don't need church to be close to God. It's an honestly held answer. I realize that. And I like to ask a follow-up question. How did you come to that conclusion? The reality is I've never heard a scriptural answer. And while it is true, and it is true that God is everywhere, He is not everywhere to save. And that's the whole point. When you get down to the nuts and the bolts of it, God has promised to be in certain places at certain times to deliver His gifts to His people. Think of it like a soup kitchen, if you will. A kitchen for the homeless and the hungry. Those who show up get soup. Those who don't go hungry. And no matter how stubborn some people can be, insisting, I can get soup anywhere, the reality is they are hungry and their stomachs are empty, and they know it as well. What the church is simply this: a group of believers in Christ that gathers regularly around the gifts He gives out. And what are these gifts? They are the gifts of Word, that is the Holy Scriptures, taught, preached, and confessed together, and the sacraments of baptism and Holy Communion. Sadly, this is rarely understood today, even amongst Christians. The focus, then, of a church service should be the movement of God descending to be with His people for the sole purpose of delivering the forgiveness of sins to them by the way of the gospel preached, read, and delivered in the waters of holy baptism, and also given through bread and wine of the Lord's Supper, word and sacrament. Why these ways? Because that's where God has promised He is to be found, according to the New Testament. So then, why go to church? Yes, it is good to be in fellowship with each other. And yes, it's awesome that we can gather together for so many wholesome and good things, so many wonderful programs and opportunities here. But the reality is that you can find friendship, entertainment, activities, programs really anywhere. You can find those in your local community center or a civic club. But you cannot get forgiveness anywhere. After all, the only thing the church really has to offer is forgiveness, plain and simple. And the only place you can find that is in the church. It is the forgiveness of sins through the death of Jesus that is the focus of what it means to be the church. Anything short of that simply is not church. And while you may find places that offer a great time with great music and a helpful message relevant to your life, and while there may be emotionally and uplifting music, and while it may feel great, it is not church unless it is Christ crucified, delivered to you through His Word and His sacraments. At least that's according to the New Testament definition of church. And so the short answer to the question of why church is, well, because it's the only place on earth where you know for sure that Jesus will meet you right where you are. It's the only place where you hear the words of forgiveness. It's the only place where you will hear Jesus Himself say to you through His words, you are forgiven. It is the only place where Jesus will meet with you in bread and wine, in water and in word. Why church? Because it's the place where Jesus has promised to be. Join me next Thursday as we continue to explore the topic of the church here on Theology Thursday. God's peace to you.